Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Julie's Jewels. This is the American River Endurance Run 2025 edition. I'm here tonight with our famous co-host here. How are you doing tonight?
Say hi, Harry.
Harry's pretty quiet. And Julie, how you doing, Julie?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Why do we got Harry tonight?
Well, we're doggy sitting for the next week.
Okay.
So Harry is joining us on camera tonight. We'll see how long this lasts, but
Anyway,
he's cute
and he likes to chase the ball. So, but tonight we're talking about the Air 50, Air 25, Air 10 routes.
Yep.
We had a video on YouTube where we talked about the drop bags, bib pickups, which is on the Friday, how the buses work, and there's buses in Folsom in the town at the host hotels. There's buses that pick up at in Auburn. So all that information is on the website. All of it is also on that video, so you can check that out. We go into all kinds of details about the aid stations and the food that's there and the sponsors. But this one is about the course itself, getting into details about what the course, where it goes, what kind of shoes you might want to wear, what the train is like. So let's start with that. So first of all, where can we find the route? Online somewhere?
Yeah, so air50mile.com, and then you'll go to the course and transportation tab and scroll down there, and you're going to see all of the race distances, the pace charts, the mileage pace charts for the 50, 25, and 10. And then if you scroll down just a hair, you're going to see the links to the maps.
Okay.
So you can click on that, and you can download that into a bunch of different formats.
Yeah, the format has GPX files. It has Google Earth files. There's a fit file.
So if you're into that, so those of you who know what that is.
Also, you can use your phone to you can open up on your phone the website and you can look at the route as well that way. So lots of ways. However, on race day, it's just a guide. We're following the ribbons, right?
Right, yeah. So orange ribbon is going to be the color that we'll be using from start to finish for all three distances. And as Mike mentioned, if you download the file to your phone or to your device, that's great. But again, you always want to look for orange ribbon. In the event that morning, there happens to be a tree down or something we unforeseen and we have to mark around it, which would then take your map route just off a little bit. So follow those orange ribbons all the way to Auburn.
Now, I forget, do you have ribbons that block off the wrong directions, or is that just flour and stuff?
Usually there'll be flour and then a big NO, no.
Yeah.
And you'd be amazed how many people actually try to do that. Or there'll be some big sticks that the course markers will put in place to make sure that that's a deterrence. And then on a turn, especially a critical turn where there is one or two ways to go, typically our course markers will make sure that turn is heavily flagged so that when you're making that right-hand turn, for instance, you'll see 3 flags in a row. So you'll know you're on that right path, even if you want to somehow put your brain to the left-hand turn.
Yeah.
So critical turns will be heavily marked. And typically if there's an NO in white flour, that means don't go there.
Yeah, there are some spots out there, especially like in the Granite Beach area, where it's not intuitively straight. Like there's a really sharp turns that keeps you on the course, which is sometimes it can be confusing.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. If you don't see a ribbon within about a half a mile, sometimes less, we overmark this course, I think, for the safety of the runners and just make sure that nobody goes off course. But you don't see a ribbon, then you need to backtrack to the last time you saw a ribbon and kind of go from there. But I will say, if you are wearing headphones, you should remove those at times just so that you get your bearings. And if you're in a conga line, for instance, don't assume that person up in front he or she knows where they're going and then takes you all off on this alternate trail. So, have your bearings at all times and make sure you're sighting those ribbons yourself.
Yeah, it's funny how that works because it's not that you didn't see a ribbon, is that you follow somebody. It's always because you follow somebody. Like you're never alone when you're on the wrong route.
How many times have you done that?
I mean, more than you think. More than you think people should.
So many times that it's embarrassing.
Or there's logs block
Yeah,
and turn it, step right over the logs.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know, but
So
yeah,
when
follow.
I say that to myself too, because I've done that. Mike's
Yeah.
done that. We've all
Mhm.
done that. But
Mhm.
just again, be hyper aware and cite those ribbons.
Okay, it sounds good. No other signage, just the ribbons and flour.
Just the ribbons and flour.
Okay.
If there are some extra signage the course markers do, that'll be a surprise and
Okay.
help you even more. But
Okay.
at this point, yeah.
Okay, well, so let's talk from the start. And the 3 races, the beauty of this course is that the 50 miler is going, and the 25 starts at the mile 25 spot. So it just picks up, and then the 10 starts at the 40 mile ish spot. So it's one course, and the other distances just start, and the times are different start times for each of those, right?
Yeah. So the 50 miler 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
The 25 miler 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and the 10 miler is at 9 a.m.
Would you expect the runners to have the 50 milers to have passed the 25? They would not have passed. So will the 25 miler be running with 50 milers?
At some point,
Yeah.
the top of the 50-mile race will then overtake the
Mhm.
25-mile
Yeah.
packs. But we've timed it out, and we've run this. This is the 8th year. I'm going to quiz on this one, but on the 25 to know the timing and the flow, and not to have too many people kind of coming from behind and make that a hindrance. So
Yeah, because it is some single track, especially on the Pioneer Express Trail.
yeah,
And so passing can be, especially in Poison Oak season.
very true. It is
Anyway.
very abundant out there.
Okay, so the race starts at Folsom Point. The 50-mile starts there. So
Yep.
where are we going from there? How does it start? And we can follow along on our
we
on our
can
phone.
follow along on the map on the plotter route. So Folsom Point, we are will be in the main parking lot area. So your first few steps will be nicely up a pavement hill, kind of get your warm up in there, and then we'll be taking the lower road.
Yeah, it's a gravel service road. There's that one dike is a Mormon Island auxiliary dam. It's under construction. There's a crew out there doing work. So we're gonna be going on the road that's down off of the dike, kind of near the Folsom, near the road. Yeah,
parallels.
Yeah,
the dike or the dam.
Okay. Yeah.
Back and forth on that. Yeah, so we'll take that over to Sophia Parkway, which then will dump us into Browns Ravine. And so you'll do a loop out there. And those of you who have run the course before, very, very similar, if not the same loop out there at Browns Ravine. And then you will make a loop back to Folsom Point. At that point, we're at 7.4 miles into the race. And so out of Folsom Point, you'll take the park road. It's a little downhill after the park kiosk. And then you'll make a right-hand turn out of the park. There will be course monitors there to make sure you don't go left and go back to Browns Ravine. And from there, you'll take what we call the dam hill. It's just a nice downhill. And this is all pavement section here too. The Browns Ravine section I was referring to, that's all trail, single track and a little bit of fire road in that section. But out of Folsom Point, this is where we're going to have our pavement section, and we will then connect with the bike trail, the American River Parkway.
Yeah, so you think about your footwear. The guy at the course has a mixture of, paved roads and then some gravel sections to the construction site, but then single track. So, I mean, you might change shoes, but people probably wear one shoe the whole day.
Yeah, if when people have asked this question on email or what have you, I've always just said, you can wear one shoe for this entire race. You really don't need to trade off shoes. You can, if that makes you feel more comfortable, and we'll talk about where we think you can do that. But I think either a lightweight trail shoe, okay, you don't need a lot of grip, a lot of lug on the bottom, of and then or just a stability running shoe. So
yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah, and I've got on the Ultra Forward Vias, and that's a great shoe that kind of captures it all. Right?
Yeah, I like that because it has a really good, has a 4 millimeter drop, and it just has a good, comfortable road shoe. It would be perfect for the pavement section, especially if you're, most people will be going faster than they should be.
Yeah.
So it's a good shoe for that case, I
Yeah,
think.
it's perfect. So that would be a good option. But again, you can wear one shoe for this entire race and be satisfied.
Yeah, because all the way around. So so we start making our way down into Folsom at this point.
Yep. So we will be on the Lake Natoma Loop. We will take that past what's called Willow Creek, will be another aid station. And then Willow Creek wraps around to what's called the Aquatic Center. And from there, that's where you'll reconnect with trail. You'll climb to the top of the bluffs.
Yeah.
And then you'll take the Middle Ridge Trail, which is just really fun.
It's a nice trail.
In-betweener trail.
Yeah.
And then you'll take that trail all the way just before you spit out to Black Miners Bar. And so that aid station mileage is about 23 miles into the race, Black Miners Bar. So again, you have this little mix back and forth of some pavement sections and then some trail sections, but nothing that would require, a really heavy mountainous kind of grippy shoe.
And there's some great views up there. You can see the river coming down towards you. So you can see the bridge, like the two bridges over Folsom, over the Folsom. It's a really nice view from up in that ridge up there.
Yeah, and one thing we forgot to mention at the start, it will be dark at Folsom Point for you 50 milers. So you'll want to have a headlamp, I think, for the first part. Just make sure we don't have any accidents. But you can drop that headlamp back at the Folsom Point aid station. There'll be a bin for that, and then they'll take that to the finish line. So we'll put your headlamps at the finish line there, so you don't have to carry it with you.
Yeah, that's nice because a little light sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
So you get to Black Miners Bar, and then you're making your way back up towards the lake.
Yep. And this will take us the 3 mile kind of gradual climb into Beals Point. So at this point, you're back on the pavement. You're back on the bike trail section all the way to Beals Point. And then when we get to Beals Point, we will run the perimeter. There's a path around the park.
Counterclockwise around the perimeter.
Yep. You'll hit the aid station as you're making this loop. And then you will come back out the park road. This is where locals, this, we have a little detour here, another project that's in motion. And so we'll take the park road out. There'll be cones. So you'll stay inside the cones, please, because there will be race or traffic, crew cars trying to come in as well. So you want to stay inside the cones, and then you'll make a right-hand turn.
You go past the kiosk. The guard shack where they're taking people's money, and then you go just a little bit farther before you get to Auburn Folsom Road. There's a trail.
If you get to Auburn Folsom Road and you see a signal, you went a little too far.
You're 100 feet too far.
Yeah. So just backtrack and again, this turn will be heavily marked and flagged so that we make sure everybody gets on that trail.
And the reroute, like you mentioned, there's some construction going on. They're improving the dikes in the area. So, for this year, maybe next year we'll be back to the normal. So we had to do a little tweaking to the route to get it to add up.
Yeah, which adds a little bit of mileage. You get bragging points and brownie points for just a little extra. There's no way around this, people. We tried every nook and cranny to do this.
Yeah.
But so yes, we'll take I call it the lower trail.
I don't know what that's called.
I don't know. We don't know what it's called, but there's all these formal names for everything. And we're trying to, be proper, but we call it the lower trail here for the locals. And then we will reconnect with, are we calling it the levee?
Yeah, those are called dikes on that side.
Okay, they're dikes. See,
it's just it's a levee. It's an earthen structure. Those are called dikes on that side.
There's dikes. So dike 3, if you're going from Beals over to heading towards the Granite Bay, there are 4 of them, and so we'll jump back in at what I would call number 3. That's
of course they don't need to know. They just got to follow
those orange ribbons.
Yeah.
But then you will have some wide gravel fire road trail running, fire trail running over to the Granite Bay Horse Assembly.
And that is that's a good spot because that's I like that wide section because you can kind of run with a friend or you can be chit chatting as you run it because it's just a nice double track
Yep.
gravel road through there.
Yep. Yep. So we're about just over 50K
Mm-hmm.
at Granite Bay Horse Assembly here. And we should back up the bus. We did talk about this in our last one about the pacers, but you could have a pacer starting at Beals Point.
Okay. All right.
For the 50 milers.
Okay.
You could trade off a pacer at Granite Bay Horse Assembly if you
Yeah.
choose to, but one pacer at a time.
Yeah.
So you can have, an entourage
Yeah.
running with you at all times.
Even if it's a camera crew?
Yeah, Mike can if he
Sure.
but so after Granite Bay Horse Assembly, we're on what's called the Pioneer Express Trail,
Mhm.
and we are taking that all the way to
Yeah.
Auburn.
Hard to get lost when you get on that trail. It's easy to get lost before there, but once you get on that trail, it's pretty hard to get lost.
Yeah, and again, orange ribbons are going to be your guide, and any false. There's some cut through trails that go to the same place.
Mhm.
So again, follow those orange ribbons,
Okay.
and then you'll make your way to Horseshoe Bar. That aid station's at about mile 38, just under 39 miles of the race, and from here over to Rattlesnake Bar. This is one of my favorite sections
Mhm.
because you have this kind of downhill out of Horseshoe Bar as you're heading towards Rattlesnake, and then it kind of spits you out into like I call it like the meadow, right? It's very
Yeah.
open and
Yeah.
and hopefully there's not a lot of poison oak, but can't guarantee that. But get some nice running over to Rattlesnake Bar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's nice.
I
Yeah.
really like that section.
It's a nice section too. Some of your other races go there, and it's just a nice area, especially,
Yeah.
I like it over there. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So that takes us into Rattlesnake Bar, just over mile 41.
Wow. Yeah.
There
And
we
so
go.
you're just at that point, the 10 milers will be starting with you. Well, you'll probably they'll probably be a lot ahead of you.
Yeah, they'll be ahead in the procession,
Mhm.
so to speak. It
Okay.
may be that a back of the packer 10 miler might be hiking the whole time, and again,
Mhm.
that 50-mile lead female and male runner may catch
Yeah.
them, but
Yeah.
they'll at that point again there'll be plenty of sighting and room to
Okay.
make
All
way.
right. Yeah. And then after Rattlesnake Bar, we talked about Dowden's Post, and I had heard that name, but I didn't know exactly where that was. That's a special aid station.
It is.
Only for Area 50 and 25 and 10.
Yeah. So the family, the Dowden family, has given us a special permission to utilize the access point to get to Dowden's Post is through private property.
Okay.
And so the aid station crew there, Bob and Ken and their team, they have to hike supplies and everything down this nice little downhill that
Yeah.
definitely gives them a workout when they're bringing those 5-gallon blue jugs down there all
Yeah.
day. So the house of the Dowden family, the houses are at the top there, and so they park up there. They use their water and anything
Yeah.
that they need, but they have to haul it down up and down the
Wow.
trail all day long for like 8 hours.
Wow. So fill up at Rattlesnake Bar.
Yeah, but Dowdens will
Yeah.
be there
Okay,
just
good.
for a final push.
Nice.
Yeah, and then so Dowdens over to Last Gasp. Yeah, you get that nice single track trail, just kind of continues, and you see the river.
And in there somewhere is the meat garden.
The meat garden. We passed that.
That was a long time
That was a
prior.
long time ago.
Yeah.
That's between that Granite Bay and Horseshoe Bar section.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Meat grinder.
Yeah.
Rock garden. So yeah.
Yep.
It can be a little,
infamous.
just a little slow, a little rocky,
Mhm.
a little slow. But I think it's like 2.5 miles.
Yeah, it's
The hard part.
Yeah.
2.5
People
miles.
say it's 4 miles. False. It's
Yeah.
not 4 miles. It's about
I mapped it out
miles.
once. Yeah. And then there's some spots in there that aren't so bad. So
Right.
yeah.
It's just hard to get a rhythm. That's really all. And
Mhm.
it just morphed into
Probably the only
this.
spot where you really can't catch a rhythm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. You just kind of have to take it for what it's worth and do
Yeah.
what you can in that section.
And just
so.
to back up, about what mileage would that be, you think?
So 32, 34, 30, 35 mile,
Okay.
35-ish to
Okay.
mile 37, or
Okay.
maybe 34
Yeah.
to
All right.
36, somewhere in that vicinity. is where the
Okay.
Rock Garden meat grinder is.
All
There
right.
is a sign. Did we determine
Yeah.
if it said meat grinder?
It says meat grinder.
Okay. So I was out
You'll
there running a
know.
couple weeks ago. Yeah. And there is this
It's a wooden.
newly minted wooden
Yeah, it's like
sign.
very
It kind
very
of like
new.
freaked me out a little bit that
Right.
we have to put a sign there that, you know, signifies that this is the meat grinder. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So well, I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
You'll know because you'll see that sign.
yeah. And then we also talked about the state park has these historic mile markers every half mile out there, and they don't line up exactly with the mileage you're at, but you can at least use those as like, count off how if you know you have 5 miles. And I actually like to not look at those because I actually they're so frequent that I like to look away when I see them because I don't really want to know. It'll slow the race down for me. It feels like if I look at those signs,
So funny.
it slows it down. Like, so I actually look away when I see those signs 'cause I don't want to know what it says. Is that weird?
I do the same thing.
Do you?
Yeah.
'Cause it's
so
like it's
funny.
too
The last
frequent.
time I read it a couple weeks ago, I
Yeah.
was doing that exact same thing. I was like, and because I live here, I know these trails like the back of my hand, but I was really trying to avoid. So these brown horse markers Mike is referring to, they are every half a mile
Mhm.
starting at Beals Point. Well, it goes before that, but we're going to call it at Beals Point. That's 32.
Yeah.
And so you'll see these markers all the way to mile marker 55
Yeah.
on these brown horse markers. And so they are every half a mile.
Yeah.
So it can either help you or make you a little cray.
Yeah. I mean, and they don't line up, so don't think you're at
Yeah.
mile 42.
Right.
You're somewhere in there, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I don't know.
They just
I'm
cause
not
more
gonna say close your
confusion.
eyes, but we don't want you
Yeah.
to fall. But yeah,
Okay.
look
So,
away.
yeah. So you get to last gasp, and then that's where you kind of peel off Pioneer Express
Yep.
and you start heading up the road.
Yeah. So then we're gonna now reconnect with pavement to the end of the race here. So
Okay.
last gasp, you've got 2.4 just under 2.4 to go.
Mhm.
And it's just like
It's gravel at first, right?
yeah.
Then it turns into pavement.
Yep. Here's a tip. Here's a secret. I don't know if it's a secret, but when I've done AR50 myself, like that's a point. If I'm coherent enough, I'll take the tangents
Mhm.
on those turns,
Mm.
and so that's meaning you're taking the shortest line.
Yeah.
And so you might see this in road racing. It's very prominent that people are all of a sudden cutting you off. They're not really cutting you off. They're
Yeah.
trying to take the tangent.
Yeah.
And so it's just it helps me and it gives me something to focus
Mhm.
on as I'm doing that. So I just kind of remind myself
Yeah.
to run the tangents up the hill.
It's steeper that way, though.
It is a little
Slightly.
bit, yeah, but
But
it's the shortest distance.
yeah.
So pick your
Yeah.
poison, right?
Yeah. So I mean, get it done with, get it over with.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you get up to you're nearing the top. You can smell the barn, and then how does it come into Auburn Dam Overlook or American River Overlook?
Yeah, so we'll veer slightly right. Again, this is all marked with orange ribbon, and you'll ascend up this quick little pitch, this
Mhm.
little dirt hill, and then you're going to stay to the right, and then we will drop into the Overlook Park, kind of in the middle of the
Okay.
parking
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there you'll have about 100 meters to
Yeah.
the finish line.
Okay.
So you'll drop into the chute immediately, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
Great. That's exciting. Man, it's it's just around the corner. We talked
is.
about the last video we did that to me, AR50 signifies spring.
Yeah.
Like way to cool makes me shiver and think about mud and rain.
But it was really
It was nice, but
Yes.
AR50 is always nice. So I always think of like this is like
Mike said it here.
the gateway to summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's exciting, and
yeah.
people will get there. We'll have a lot will be going on there. We talked about the last video, but just real quick, we'll have food there. We'll have announcer going off and
Yeah.
some vendors.
Yep, we'll have Taco Tree,
Yeah.
Dust Bowl Brewing
Mhm.
Company. We'll
Little,
be
it's like a
doing the
little beer garden. Okay.
Ponderosa Cider. There'll be cookies and other
Mhm.
beverages, and
Yeah.
again, Monsters of Massage, Heidi Gardner Studios, Just
Mhm.
Oliver, Ultra Village vendors will be
Mm.
there all day long. Families, spectators, friends
Yeah.
can hang out. Yeah.
It's a good spot because there's lots of parking. There's a lot of grass, so people can lay out a blanket, and there's a skate park there for like
Yep.
your little kids. Bring a helmet.
Yep.
There's a skate park there. There's a lot you can do just hanging out. We talked about in some of the crewing aspect of this here. Maybe to not try to hit every aid station because sometimes it can be might miss your runner. It depends on how fast they're going. It's a pretty quick course for the most part, huh?
It is, and that's a good point. You can look on the website for the mileage chart, which has those crewing locations there, and again, no crewing at a non-crew
Mhm.
location. But typically, if I were crewing for Mike here, I would see him off at the start, perhaps. Maybe I'd
Mhm.
still be in bed, and then I would go to Beals Point would be the
Yeah.
next part. So
Mhm.
we're just over halfway through.
Yeah.
And then from Beals, you do have the option to go to the Granite Bay Horse Assembly. I'm going to kind of deter crews from doing this because you will need to park in the Granite Beach main parking lot.
Yeah.
And then there'll be signs there for the crew parking, but then you'll have to hike over to the aid station. And so this is where crews, if you're carrying 3 Yetis and, a monster tent and whatnot, you're probably not going to make it on
How
time.
how far of a hike is that?
It's I'm gonna say about a quarter of a mile, just give
Long
or
enough if
take.
you're carrying a bunch
Yeah,
of stuff. Is
and again, that section between Beals and Granite moves pretty quickly.
Mhm.
Albeit our
Yeah.
little detour this year, which does slow it down just a hair. But
Yeah.
again, it's just a quick section to kind of, you never know what traffic's like on Auburn Folsom Road, the main roads getting us from
Mhm.
basically all these crew access points. So I would suggest, unless you're in dire need to see your crew for any reason, that you just get your crew needs
Mhm.
met at Beals, and then you go to Rattlesnake,
Yeah.
and then from Rattlesnake you go to the finish line.
Yeah. It's a
Um,
much better plan.
yeah, yeah. And if crews
Yeah.
want to hike down from the overlook from the finish line, uh, backtrack on the course to kind of see you ascending up the final
Mhm.
climb, the final mile there, you can do that. But there's not an official, there's no crewing,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good.
So spectators can be on that part,
Okay.
but they'll have to hike, walk, jog, run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how much longer is this course? And it's only like a quarter mile longer. Is that what we're thinking than previous years because of that construction near Bill's Point?
Yeah, it's a hair more than
Okay.
that, but
So
again, if you run tangents, you're going to take the shortest
so
line.
yeah. So you'll make it up.
So take those tangents on the
Yeah. I
last gas
like it.
pedal, and you'll
So
thank me for that. Yeah.
well, that's cool. That's a lot of information. So they can go to the website. They can look at the route there. They can
Hmm.
download the files to their phones as a reference because it's good to have it on your phone just as a backup.
Yep.
But watch the ribbons during race day.
Yep.
That's the actual course. So with that, and then the crew. It's all on the website where the charts and stuff are all there. So
It is. It
okay.
is. And we talked about the bus in our last YouTube, but if you still need to sign up for transportation, get you to the start lines of these 3 races, then you can do
Hmm.
that on the website,
The
the
website again is,
ar50mile.com.
and they can get there from the NorCal Ultra site too. Can
Yep,
they
they
get
can
there?
get there. They can get there
Okay.
from RaceFaster, the
Okay.
registration site. Yeah,
Okay.
they
All
can
right.
link all over
Okay.
the
Good.
planet there. If you need to sign up for that bus, the deadline is next Thursday. So make
Which
sure
is what's
you.
that date?
It's the 27th.
Okay.
We're gonna have our social media director 27th. She
Okay.
says it is. So at 5 p.m. That's the bus deadline next Thursday, the 27th.
Okay.
So yeah, I think.
Awesome. Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
What a fun time.
Gosh, man, I think we've covered
Yeah, that
everything.
sounds great.
And also, we just posted the course nutrition. So for all of these aid stations, all of these points that we just talked about,
Yeah.
we have the goos, we have scratch, we have gem bars,
Yeah.
we have salt stick. And so
Huh.
if you want to really geek out and know every single flavor for every single product that is going to be on the course at all of these
Wow.
9 aid stations for the 50, 25, you have about half that, and then 10, you have 2 of those. You can go online and see the course nutrition there, and so it's detailed out. So gives you an idea just in case you don't use those products and you want to bring your own, you'll know exactly what you need to bring.
Yeah, that's good. So that's a lot of information. So
Yeah.
awesome. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you, Julie.
Yeah, thanks,
And we will
Mike.
see you guys there shortly in a couple weeks. Bye.